Superman Curvis. Does Cozzy? Oh, yeah!
And the siren sounds in a heavyweight stoush, an epic, a classic.
Hello and welcome to Access All Areas, brought to you by Crypto.com. A big round of footy, lots to discuss. No Nat Edwards today, but as always, Matthew Lloyd is in. And Lloydie, hello, welcome. Big winner for you out of the round.
Thanks, David. There was two for me, and they're two interstate clubs. I love what the Giants are doing firstly, and now to win 6 in a row and be 7th on the ladder is amazing. No one saw that coming. But the Brisbane Lions, when you are so embarrassed or humiliated losing in that way, they'd be devastated with what went on against Melbourne. But to beat Geelong the way they did was impressive. What about you?
Yeah, from a spectacle game perspective, it was the Saturday night game, Collingwood and Port Adelaide. We'll touch on that in a moment. But individually, it was Marcus Bontempelli, who I still think, Lordo, when it's all said and done, is still the best player in the comp with what he did on the weekend.
Can't argue much with that.
Yeah, the Crows are going to be annoyed this year, aren't they, with what they've done to themselves as much as anything else. So really good performances against the teams above them on the ladder. They threw it away again yesterday. 7 goals they kicked in the last quarter against Melbourne. But again, it was their own undoing which had the result go against them.
Yeah, it's such a fine line, isn't it, this year, where the fight for those 7th and 8th spots, and even 6th and 7th as well, and they just made bad errors, like Rory Sloane fumbled in the first one. Just doesn't get back from the mark enough. Look at the scoreline. They're down by 7 points and just put themselves under enormous pressure, where it's probably the reason they're 13th. They're just in clutch moments. They haven't been able to handle the pressure well enough. That's Miller just, showing...
Not reading the moment.
Not reading the moment, and Melbourne were all over him and then just get punished on the rebound. So, good sides this time of year just find a way to win it, and this was horrible by Hinge. Just a cross goal, just a horrible turnover, which killed the momentum and took the wind out of him in the last quarter.
They've twice pushed Collingwood, one at that same venue as yesterday, one at home, to within a kick in both games. They've beaten the Port Adelaide Footy Club sitting second. They've beaten Brisbane Lions. They've lost that game against the 4th place team yesterday. They should be in the finals, and they should be sitting 5th or even 4th.
Yeah, exactly, and now they're 13th. So they've got a big showdown all on the line this weekend to try and keep their season alive.
Yep. It's going to be hard to do to get themselves back up, given that our Isaac Rankin, who was a key performer yesterday and has been a good recruit, ripping that hamstring.
Yeah, he's had some soft tissue injuries in his time, Damo, and that looked a really bad one. Late in the game, he'd played really well, worked extremely hard, and just when you grab at them like that, you'd think we may not see him again.
Yep. Demons are on a 3-win streak now. They had to retrieve it from the depths of a near loss, as you've already mentioned, against Melbourne the previous weeks and Kilda the week before that. But they're doing it through their good players starting to hit straps, Lordo, and I'll refer to this man here on screen, Cozzy Pickett, who played a really good role yesterday, a lot of time in the midfield. Started the game in the midfield.
Yeah, Simon Goodwin has had a good 2 or 3 weeks, I would have thought, to be bold enough to go Petrarca forward, drop Grundy, just have Gawn as a sole ruckman, then to start this man in the centre bounce. It's the hardest position to play on the ground. I've been critical of his work rate, I'll be honest with that, Pickett, but the hardest position on the ground is the role he plays. Small forward, it's starvation corner sometimes, and just to get your hands on the footy early like he did. He was a different Cozzy Pickett yesterday, the best I've seen him play since round 1, when he set the game alight against the Western Bulldogs.
And what we're seeing here, it's exquisite skill. I mean, have a look at the finish on this. And again, it's late-ish in the game. We're halfway through the 3rd quarter, and he's able to maintain composure. And then we get to the last quarter, and the game still is in the balance. And there he is there with a clean touch and a most beautiful death kick.
Yeah, behind Petrarca, Gawn, you nearly say he's nearly their 3rd most important player. If he can do things like that, that gives them a chance to win a premiership. If he doesn't, I think that could be the difference.
Yep. It was a slog across town at Marvel Stadium. St Kilda playing North Melbourne. Brett Ratten nearly getting his first win as interim North Melbourne coach. And we'll have a few comments about North Melbourne in a moment, Lotto, but one thing you couldn't do was question Brett Ratten's commitment to the cause. We just see the reactions to him in a couple of moments here. Taron Thomas kicking a goal.
Yeah, Taron Thomas kicks a goal and suddenly you go 17 points up at 3-quarter time. But then this is late in the piece and Davies Uniacke was out. They were down by 2 points.
That shouldn't have been a free kick.
No, it was a soft free kick to Rowan Marshall. And you could just see that maybe all hope was dashed there with 4 minutes to go. But they had their chances, North. They just don't know how to win, unfortunately.
No, they
lack poise and composure.
And I hope they don't go down the it was a gallant loss path, because that was there to win. Just on the Saints, they battled against West Coast, 18th team. They really battled against North Melbourne. And then post-match, Ross Lyon, I think, tries to divert attention to the roof being open prior to the game being played, which contributed to the sloppy conditions and poor skill. But I've seen a lot of these two teams this year. They don't play many games that are memorable.
No, they don't. they're sixth, but they're in free fall, the Saints, the way they're playing their football. And I think Hawthorn are playing better than them, even though they're in a bottom 4 or 5 club. And I think if they lose that this weekend, I don't think they'll play finals.
So do you see, as I do, with what Ross Lyon said last night, as being just, hey, don't look at how badly we're playing, have a look at the conditions?
Not sure. Might be a bit of sheedy about him, Damo, deflecting, but he's got to look at his team, that they're not playing good footy.
Yep. Some teams are, and that's Collingwood versus Port Adelaide, and particularly Collingwood, who, again, has illustrated its ability in key moments to get things done that no other clubs can. Look at this kick, Lloyd. One step, 45 metres straight through the goal. You can see it's 40 seconds into the last quarter. Josh Dacos, again, most people, I'd argue 9 out of 10, are not going to kick that goal in that moment. His brother, again, seizes a moment, gets a free kick and drills one from 50, and then we're just going to see the man who does it every single time. Before we do, McCreary, have a look at the way he takes on the game here, Lordo, and just sizes and seizes up the opportunities and then drills it across his body to Bobby Hill.
Yeah, it's great vision. They had 7 goals to three-quarter time, and this is unbelievable. The clutch player, Jamie Elliott, and then Pendlebury, just the poise here, going inside forward 50 to Jamie Elliott, and he kicks this one as well, which was obviously likened to the one on against the Bombers late last year. But just on the Pies, I got to watch them train in the pre-season, and I think they're the best side by foot in the competition. And their training sessions are done at high intensity, and goal kicking is thrown in between drills when they're under fatigue, under pressure. And it's no coincidence that they nail the big moments because they've trained like that since November or December. So full credit to them, and they get what they deserve. You
were slightly critical of Port not seizing its moment, and you were lining it up with what you expected to be the case if they were to play Collingwood in a final on the MCG on a sunny day. You felt they missed a beat? Yeah, I just feel that if they couldn't beat them on Saturday night, I find it hard to see how they'll beat them at the MCG. I thought wet conditions, big bodies. I love the pressure they put Collingwood under because I saw Collingwood panic in a way I hadn't seen them panic since Brisbane or Melbourne, on the King's birthday game. So full credit to Port, but they'll need a lot to go right come finals to beat Collingwood. I have a slightly different view. I felt they stood up. I thought their midfield stood up. I thought the one that let them down was McKenzie on Elliott, and I reckon that'll change next time. And I even like the fact they came back when Collingwood hit the lead early in the last quarter. They came back and hit it twice themselves. I think they stood up. Yeah, I worry about Dixon with his knee. I worry about Boak and Wines with their lack of leg speed on the fast X of the MCG, but they've had a wonderful season. Time will tell. Yep. You got less worries than you may have once had about the Lions. Really did a good job against the Cats. The scoreboard slightly flattered the Cats when the final siren tolled. What I like about Brisbane, despite some of the losses that they've had, is this team defence. And they've always been renowned for their scoring and how dynamic and breathtaking they are with their ball movement. Look at the numbers back here. Just not allowing Geelong to score. So they've kept Geelong... So there's been a major shift this year? It has, yeah. In season? Or even off-season? I've seen it's got better and better as the season's gone on, where, look at it, come forward, numbers getting back behind the ball, then they'll ping off half-back. So here's Tomahawk. He's frustrated with his defence throughout the game, but I just think that they were beaten in every department. Yeah, they had a good last quarter, last period, where they headed the Brisbane Lions, but, yeah... There's a steelier resolve about Brisbane. Yeah, they got their tactics wrong last week, probably going Gunston too early, but as a whole, they're a much better side. In a footy context, it was genuinely sad to see Will Ashcroft go down late in that match with what has now been confirmed as an ACL out for the season. It's a problem in terms of what's left home and away season-wise and finals. Is it Jared Lyons? Is that the simple solution, at least to start it with? Or is it Cam Rayner being given more responsibilities in the middle? Is it Devon Robertson just being asked to play a role that he hasn't yet played consistently? It's a good question, Damo, because you could easily go, OK, we'll throw in Lyons or a Devon Robertson, but to throw in a Rayner and say, your time has arrived here, we need more from you, go and watch what Cozzy Pickett did on the weekend, and that's what we need to do. He hasn't got the tank to go full-time, but they need to go big. I think to beat Collingwood and these teams, you've got to go be brave, and I think Rayner in there for 50% would be important. And as you said, with what they've done with their backline this year, they've been brave in season, haven't they? They made some key personnel decisions to leave out Rich and Gunston. That transformed them to this point, so I reckon they continue that path. Brent Daniels, Lord, look, it's been a known fact inside the GWS team, they love him. Missed last year with a knee and missed 5 matches this year with a hamstring, but when he's on song, there's not many better ball users.
No, there's not, and to get him back with still 6 games to go is so important on this run that they've got. I can't wait for this week. It's at Mars in Ballarat to play the Western Bulldogs. How big a game's that going to be? So they're tough. Look at this, and now to add him to Toby Green and the Silk inside 50 to show what he's just done there. What a season it's been, whether they make it or not. Exciting times for the Giants with that mix of experience and youth together.
They were 3-7 after 10 rounds, and now they find themselves in the 8 at the completion of round 19. It's a full credit to the new coach Adam Kingsley, how he's held himself together, and equally those older leaders like Stephen Coniglio who've held the team in place.
Yeah, I said it a few weeks ago. Yeah, someone within the Giants said they're just starting to get what Kingsley wants, and to see them string it together in his first season has been so good to see.
Yep. Major disappointment, though, with the team on the other end of the result. Ben King has again had another bad game, Lordo. It's a string of them now. It's coincided with the removal of the old coach in Stuart Dew and the arrival of the interim in Stephen King. But it's not the form line and stats line you want of someone who's got so much talent. I know he missed last year with a knee, but this is the time of the season this club needed him to stand up, and he hasn't been there.
Yeah, he's too good for those sort of numbers. And the other aspect, he didn't lay any tackles. So why doesn't Stephen King, being an interim coach, throw him into the ruck and say he's never played there before, but like Joe Danaher, get him in there, get him some touches early in the game, and I'd love to see that in the next 5 weeks. 4 weeks without scoring or contributing, try something different with him and go in the ruck. Work him all week in the ruck, compete early, and that may help his
push through those moments.
Push through it, yeah.
Well, even at 36 years of age, Buddy Franklin is able to persevere through some adversity for himself. This year, it hasn't been his best season, it won't be, and it's going to be his last, but he's still contributing, Lordo, and he's actually doing something he's never done a lot of, and that is take contested marks, or at least bring balls to ground. That kicking has always been a feature, that field kicking, but this is crucial to what the Swans are still hoping to mount a late run at the 8.
Yeah, and for, he beat Alex Pearce, but for any defender coming up, you're still going to be more intimidated and daunted by him versus Amati and Logan McDonald, and his foot skills and his kicking for goal as well. I can't believe how he's improved it over his career. That's what champions do. They get to work, and it's great to see. I'm going to use the word beautiful. It's beautiful to see Buddy still doing great things this part of his career.
Yep. It's hard to reconcile when you look at the ladder after round 19 that 3 teams only sit beneath Fremantle Footy Club. Hawthorn, and then with the bottom 2, we know the problems of North Melbourne and West Coast. How has this happened for this club that won a final last year and had high aspirations?
Well, apart from probably Caleb Sarong and Darcy at moments, they've just had no players that have really improved or enhanced their reputations as a collective. They haven't had any connection as a group. And he just he's uninspiring at times, Justin Longmuir. And I just wonder sometimes with how they start games poorly, what he can do to look at himself and his coaching group moving forward for next year to see how they can turn this around.
Yeah, it's crucial time for them. A team that you could never question in terms of commitment and over-the-ground hardness is this one, Richmond. And, Lord, have a look at what Liam Baker did here to seize the moment. We're just going to stop it there. He's got options.
Yeah.
I like the fact he ignored them. He ignored Prestia and McIntosh and said, it's my moment.
Well, it would have been a different story had he missed, but that's what great players do. They say, I want the moment. I think he should have given it, but that's history now because he kicked the goal and they win the game of football. So, yeah, they got out of jail, that one.
And there's still a chance.
And there's still a chance, yeah.
Carlton, are you a believer yet? 5 in a row. There's question marks on the quality of opponent. Even Port Adelaide in the one of the 5, they had 7 players out. We're going to know, though, aren't we, in the next 3 weeks when you look at what they've got? Collingwood, massive game Friday night. Are you believing? Are they a chance against the Pies? I think they are.
Yeah, I think they're a chance, but I think losing Sam Walsh, Damo, really hurts because he's a point of difference to the rest of them. They'll get Chera and Cripps back, who have been rested against West Coast Eagles. But, yeah, I think Collingwood will get a hold of them. Even though it's been a wonderful turnaround, there's still no margin for error. And, unfortunately, they'll be out of the 8, I would have thought, by the end of next round.
Yeah, next round.
Yeah, by the end of next round, yeah.
There's never been less integrity in the fixture this year, though, because of the poor performances of the teams placed 17th and 18th, that being North Melbourne and West Coast. And have a look. We've known this is coming. It's now upon us that Essendon is going to be one of the great beneficiaries of that situation, as are those other clubs on that screen, vying for spots in and around the 8.
Yeah, so Essendon should make it. Yeah, they probably don't deserve to on what they've done the last 2 weeks against Geelong and the Western Bulldogs. But with that run home, they could potentially make it with those 8 points. At least North are being half competitive. West Coast has been an absolute disaster for the competition. They play each other this week, Damo. West Coast v North at home.
It's not a guarantee that North wins that.
No, it's not.
It is for every other team, but not North. Lordo, you mentioned the Bombers, and they've got those easy games on paper at least, but they're not going to figure prominently if they play the way they did against the Bulldogs and the way they let the ball come too far back in their own backline. Yeah,
Brad Scott spoke, Damo, about that they are tired. They're a tired group, but everyone's tired this time of year, so I think they've just got to pick themselves back up and go, we're not going to play finals if we play conservatively the way we're playing. The midfield's been beaten the last 2 weeks, but lateral, sideways, teams are sweating on that. Get back to what they were doing earlier in the year when they were challenging sides.
Bit of dare.
I think they've got away with some wins chipping it around, but teams have gone to school on that, and that's not going to help them. So you've got to be more aggressive.
Yep. On Access All Areas, we like to go early with some tips for the weekend upcoming. It's for the official AFL tipping competition, thanks to Crypto.com. It is early, Lordo. You can change that in the week, but right now, Carlton versus Collingwood.
Collingwood will win that.
Yeah, I'll probably take the conservative view too, but I reckon they're a chance, the Blues. And another big game, a lot of big games coming up, Richmond v Melbourne.
Too much at stake for the Demons, so
I want to go Richmond on that one. So, quick gives today, Lordo. A best-of-3 grand final series, yes or no?
A huge no.
I've got a massive no on that too. I just wish they wouldn't even talk about it. Every side playing each other once over 17 rounds before the ladder being reset into 3 groups of 6. I'm a fan of this. I like this. Play each other once. That's basically your final scenario, and see what happens beyond that.
A big yes to play each other once, but not that suddenly the middle 6 are just playing for 7th and 8th and the bottom 6 are playing for draft picks. It's got to be still that you're just playing out the season.
Yep. Alternatively, finals wildcard where 7 plays 10, 8th plays 9 for the last 2 spots.
I thought about it early and thought a yes, but after listening to smart people in the game, it's a big no for me.
I'm a resounding no on that. We talk about integrity. That to me would remove it completely. The introduction of a mid-season trade period, it's moving closer every single year. It's going to happen. I'm a massive advocate of it. I want it in next year.
I'm a no for this one too. It's hard enough to get trades done at the end of the season. I can't see too many happening in season. You start with your list at the start of the year. You should keep it. It's a war of attrition. I don't like it.
And I want AFL club to AFL club, not just outside the AFL system. What's more important in your eyes, the new Tasmanian team's introduction or an increase in the soft cap for the clubs?
Well, they've committed to the Tassie team, so yeah, I think Tassie. Damon, what about you?
Yeah, I've got the soft cap payments. There was a lot of discussion at the CEO's conference during the week, and I reckon that will be increased on already.
They can do both, can't they?
They can do both, but I reckon that's the more pressing one right now. Tassie's still 4 or 5 years away. OK, crypto bold play from the weekend. This is my favourite player, has been for a number of years, Lordo. He's still the best, I reckon, in the comp, Marcus Bontempelli. This chain of events starts with him at true centre-half back. Watch him just read and seize this moment.
There was no coming back for the Bombers after this. This was inspirational. I love Liberatore's game and I love Bontempelli's game for different reasons.
Puts the Jets on now.
It does. And he's run 120 metres for this and then has the poise to dance around Heppel, kick the goal and watch the players get around him. That's what captains do. They loved it. And then to go back, Damo, with the flight of the ball and do this. That is why you're right. He has been one of the best players in the game for about the last 5 or 6 years.
Lordy, we'll have Nat Edwards back next week. You will be too. Thanks for watching Access All Areas.